They are not thinking about how to end the war, but about how to manage to destroy and capture more, while the world allows them to conduct this war.
That was Ukrainian President Zelenskyy addressing his nation and the world. Ukraine is not going to be bullied by the United States into submission to Russia. As Ukrainian President Zelenskyy has stood up to Donald Trump, his approval in Ukraine is actually soaring right now. This article sums it up nicely from Reuters. Zelensky's approval rating rises in Ukraine after Trump spat. Poll shows. It says how President Zelensky's approval has now gone up by 10 percentage points since the White House attack on him in the Oval Office by Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. This according to kind of the leading pollster in Ukraine. The poll was done by the Kyiv International Institute of Sociology, and it showed that 67% of respondents now trusted Zelenskyy in March. That's up 57% a month earlier. Now, this is significant because in Donald Trump's speeches as well, Donald Trump said that Zelenskyy had a 4% approval rating. Of course, everything Donald Trump says is a lie, but let me remind you of what Trump said. Let's play that clip.
Thank you. Yes.
We're hearing that Russia wants to force Ukraine to hold new elections in order to sign any kind of a peace deal. Is that something that the U.S. would ever support?
Well, we have a situation where we haven't had elections in Ukraine, where we have martial law, essentially martial law in Ukraine, where the leader in Ukraine, I mean, I hate to say it, but he's down at 4% approval rating, and where a country has been blown to smithereens. You got most of the cities are laying on their sides. The buildings are collapsed. It looks like a massive demolition site. The whole, I mean, so many of the cities. I mean, they haven't done it in Kiev because I guess they don't want to shoot too many rockets in there. They've done it 20%, but they haven't done it 100%. If they wanted to do it 100%, it would probably happen very quickly. But you have cities that are absolutely decimated. And yeah, I would say that, you know, when they want a seat at the table, you could say the people have to, wouldn't the people of Ukraine have to say, like, you know, it's been a long time since we've had an election. That's not a Russia thing. That's something coming from me and coming from many other countries also. You know, Ukraine is being just wiped out. Look at what's happening to the cities. There are cities, there's not even a building standing. It's a massive, you talk about Gaza. I mean, it's literally, these cities look like Gaza.
Now we see Zelensky's support here in the United States as well. You know, yes, there is a hardcore MAGA kind of brain-dead cult group that's going to listen to anything Donald Trump says, including the Trump regime making alliances with the United States and the axis of evil, joining Russia, North Korea, Belarus, and Hungary in United Nations declarations basically in opposition to Ukraine, opposing condemnations of Russia. But take a look, this from this weekend in Denver, and we saw protests like this and rallies like this across the United States. I know a lot of corporate media is not covering it. We cover these here in the United States. Denver stands with Ukraine. Let's play this clip.
Ukraine! Glory to Ukraine! Justice for Ukraine! Do not betray Ukraine! Do not betray Ukraine!
Now, as Donald Trump and Elon Musk and the Trump regime have cut off intelligence to Ukraine, cut off military aid, and it does seem that the Trump administration, or I should say the Trump regime, may be providing intelligence to Russia. We've seen an increase in the attacks on Ukraine, significant escalation by Russia, being cheered on, by the way, by the Trump regime. Although the Trump regime promised peace in 24 hours, they are now trying to, or they immediately tried to do a deal with Ukraine to steal Ukraine's rare earth minerals, to steal the minerals belonging to Ukraine, and there's no peace in Ukraine, if anything, an escalation by Russia because of Trump's conduct. One of the things that we saw, for example, over the weekend, as reported by Right Hero SINT Defender, between 80 and 100 Russian Special Forces operators were eliminated earlier this weekend in the Kursk region of western Russia after attempting to infiltrate Ukrainian frontline positions using tunnels linked to a nearby underground gas pipeline. Russian Special Forces carried out a similar covert operation during an earlier battle in Ukraine, which had been successful then. They are really gearing up, and Ukraine is just so courageously defending itself from Russia's unlawful invasion. Now, one of the things we saw as well is the foreign minister of Poland, Foreign Minister Sierkowski, saying the following. Responding to Elon Musk. Elon Musk posted, I literally challenged Putin to one-on-one physical combat over Ukraine, and my Starlink system is the backbone of the Ukrainian army. Their entire front line would collapse if I turned it off. Doesn't Elon Musk speak like a cartoonish villain? And then Foreign Minister Sierkowski goes, Starlinks for Ukraine are paid for by the Polish Digitization Ministry at the cost of about 50 million per year. The ethics of threatening the victim of aggression apart, if SpaceX proves to be an unreliable provider, we will be forced to look for other suppliers. To which Elon Musk then responded to the Poland foreign minister, be quiet, small man, you pay a tiny fraction of the cost, and there is no substitute for Starlink. And I think that's a stark warning for any country that uses Starlink, that Elon Musk will do this to you and behave this way. And by the way, could you imagine Elon Musk or Donald Trump talking like that to Russia, to Putin, to Kim Jong-un, to Xi Jinping? No, that's how they talk to our allies. Why? Because Musk and Trump seem to be more allied with Russia and Putin at this point. Let me just share with you Foreign Minister Sierkowski's recent speech, small portion that he gave in the United Nations. I think he's a strong advocate right here for the defense of Ukraine. Take a look at what he said. Let's play this clip.
Thousands of Ukrainian children have been kidnapped and sent to Russia to strip them of their national identity. Vladimir Putin does not only want to destroy Ukraine's presence, he wants to steal its future too. We all knew it back then. We still actually know it. Opinions in this body began to shift not because facts have changed. They are changing because of self-interests. Some of our member states now seem to believe that ending the war at any cost and restoring business as usual with Russia will be beneficial. As a representative of the country neighboring both Russia and Ukraine, I can tell you it will not. By normalizing relations with Moscow, you would be entrusting your security and economic stability to an autocrat and a war criminal in an international environment much more unstable than it was a decade ago. Russian victory, may it never come, would not create a more just global order. It wouldn't benefit countries dissatisfied with where things stand now. It wouldn't even bring about a more just and prosperous Russia. Suffice to say, there are now more political prisoners in Russia than there were in the 1980s when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. There are many more casualties as well. Repercussions of an appeasement would also not be limited to Russia's immediate neighborhood. Kremlin's green men, well known from Donbass, are already present in African, Latin American and Asian countries operating under different names. Let Putin win in Ukraine and their activities will only intensify. Moscow's disruptive actions in Africa
Now, as Ilya Pomerenko from the Kyiv Independent writes, Russia, one of the largest military powers in history, with active support from Iran and North Korea, and the benevolent neutrality of China, has been unable to erase Ukraine from the world map for 12 years, and now requires U.S. assistance to somehow choke it to death after 3 years of a failed full-scale war. Gary Kasparov writes, Trump and Musk are now fully representing Russia and Putin regarding Ukraine. They're demanding Ukraine surrender unconditionally, offer nothing but punishment, and Russia is to be rescued and rewarded for its aggression by the Trump regime. And this is in response to breaking news by Samuel Ramani that the Trump regime has indicated that the mineral deal signing in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia will not be enough to restart military aid or intelligence sharing to Ukraine. That's why I always said this minerals deal was always a red herring. What Trump and the Trump regime wanted is you get Zelenskyy to hand over their minerals, you carve it out, you basically annex parts of Ukraine, and rather than provide security guarantees, you guarantee that this is what Trump wants to do, remember, to Greenland and to Canada. This is what he's trying to do in Ukraine. Trump wants a deal with Putin, not with Zelenskyy, where they carve up Ukraine and half of it goes to the Trump regime. This is Trump's conquest dream, and half goes to Putin. That's what Zelenskyy needs to, be worried about, and I know that it's top of mind right there. It's so interesting. You have Lindsey Graham, this cowardice traitor that he is. He now says the following. Senator Graham suggests providing Ukraine with intelligence and weapons until a ceasefire. Quote, if we cut off Ukraine, it will be worse than Afghanistan. I don't think President Trump wants to do that, said Republican Senator Lindsey Graham. Earlier, it was reported that there is pressure being applied by these Republicans. As Anya writes, that's not the goal, Senator Moron. The goal is to, I said moron. The goal is to bleed Ukraine dry and serve it to Putin on a silver platter. Trump wants to do it, and you are helping him. As Jay in Kyiv writes, if Trump throwing Ukraine to the wolves means losing allies, huge industrial manufacturing deals with former European allies, U.S. defense industry kissing billions in deals goodbye, countless other forms of long-term collateral damages and polls, the GOP may reconsider its position. That's why it's our best route to pour on heavy negativity every angle. Regular Republicans want to keep their jobs come midterms, and standing up now will give them time to recover lost credibility before it goes off the rails. Let me show you Zelenskyy's address to his nation, though. Let me, the longer version, play this clip.
Volodymyr Zelenskyy, dear Ukrainians, today throughout the day, war continued in the city of Dobropilya in the Donetsk region following a Russian strike. It was one of the most brutal strikes, a combined special strike calculated to cause maximum damage. Missiles, also Shahed, hit the central part of the city. 9 residential buildings were struck. Volodymyr Zelenskyy. The shopping center stores were also targeted. 11 people unfortunately died. My condolences to the families and loved ones. Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Among the dead is an employee of the State Emergency Service of Ukraine. A repeat strike occurred when the rescuers began their work. 50 people were injured. All have received necessary assistance. Among the injured are 7 children. The youngest girl is 10 years old. Volodymyr Zelenskyy. There were also other shellings today in Donetsk region, Kharkiv region and our southern regions. In Kherson, FPV drone strikes again on civilians. Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Russia literally proves daily with its cruelty that for them there in Moscow, nothing has changed. They are not thinking about how to end the war, but about how to manage to destroy and capture more, while the world allows them to conduct this war. Volodymyr. Of course, we are doing our utmost to protect lives. I am grateful to all the leaders, all the diplomats of partner countries, all the public figures who support Ukraine, who condemn these Russian strikes, and who call things by their proper names. And it is important that we continue to coordinate all our efforts with our partners so that the defense works efficiently and to do everything possible to bring peace closer. Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Today our teams from Ukraine and Britain worked here in Kyiv on steps that can help. We continue to communicate very actively with all Europeans. There will be many meetings soon. A lot of discussions. I believe there will be decisions. Also, we are constantly in contact with the American team, preparing for a meeting in Saudi Arabia. I am confident the meeting will be productive. Volodymyr Zelenskyy, we in Ukraine are very committed to this. On the Ukrainian side, there are opportunities. For the Premier side, there are diplomatic and military representatives, head of the office Yermak, Minister of Foreign Affairs Sibiha, and a few other representatives of the Ukrainian diplomatic corps. How did this on the Volodymyr Zelenskyy, Minister of Defense Umerov, Deputy Head of the Office Pavlo Polisa. Volodymyr Zelenskyy, a combat commander who knows the front very well, knows the situation in the brigades. Volodymyr Zelenskyy, we will do everything to ensure that Ukrainian interests are considered and considered as needed. Volodymyr Zelenskyy, I am also awaiting a report from the Minister of Defense on new support packages, primarily air defense and investments in our defense production. These are truly key priorities for us. Right now, partners in Europe are making such new support decisions almost daily. Volodymyr Zelenskyy, it must be implemented as soon as possible. Thank you to everyone who is with Ukraine. Glory to Ukraine.
And here's what Anna from Ukraine posts. By the way, check out her YouTube channel as well, Anna from Ukraine Official. Shout out to her. She's doing some courageous reporting on Ukraine. Let's play it.
Hello guys, you know there are rumors that Trump sent a delegation to Ukraine. No, not to check how we survive after the White House cut off intelligence sharing and Russians kept targeting our civilians, but a delegation to pressure Ukrainian opposition leaders to change Zelenskyy because he does not want to capitulate. No one wants in Ukraine, and perhaps they were surprised to learn that all of the Ukrainian opposition leaders, including former president, support Zelensky's course and confirm we cannot have elections now. I wonder, did Trump send a similar delegation to Moscow to negotiate with their opposition the need to change Putin after 25 years of his rule? But perhaps no, because Putin killed all of his oppositioners. Let me know in the comments below, do you think Trump is a Russian asset? And please share and subscribe, that's important.
And over this weekend, Donald Trump was demeaning Zelenskyy during his interview with Maria Bartiromo that aired on Fox. Let me show you that.
He took money out of this country under Biden like candy from a baby. It was so easy with that same attitude. And I just don't think he's grateful. We gave him, in my opinion, $350 billion. Europe is in for $100 billion. We gave him $350 billion, and he's talking about the fact that they have fought, and there's a bravery because somebody has to use the weapons. But without those weapons, don't forget, I was the one that gave him the javelins that was able to knock down all the tanks. Obama gave nothing. Look, if I were president, that would have never happened. You wouldn't have had Russia going into Ukraine. You wouldn't have had the whole situation with Hamas and October 7th. It would have never happened because Iran was broke. They had no money. They weren't giving it to Hamas or Hezbollah or anybody else. You would have never had the worst evacuation anyone's ever seen, which is Afghanistan.
And folks, all across the world, we're seeing countries uniting against Donald Trump. I mean, just take a look at what's going on in Quebec. Anti-Trump demonstrators rally in cities across Quebec for women's rights. Thousands of women across 16 cities in Quebec, including Montreal, formed a human chain to protest Trump and Elon Musk, chanting "shame on you." Let me show you right here just the powerful show of unity in Mexico behind their popular president, Claudia Sheinbaum, as well. Let's play this clip. And so I think you see right here Donald Trump and his authoritarian regime in the United States revealing their cards. I think you see Zelenskyy standing strong, and the people of Ukraine clearly do not want Zelenskyy to break or bend the knee without security guarantees, for sure. And then you have Donald Trump, an impatient, horrible negotiator, revealing his true intentions all along was to annex parts of Ukraine. He wants to steal it. He wants Putin to have half, him to have half, and that's kind of what I believe their plan to be. I mean, how else can you interpret what their actions are? And I'll say this too. I mean, you heard from Anna in Ukraine. Look, Trump and Vance have blood on their hands, and the whole Trump regime. They're directly responsible, in my view, my opinion, for killing the Ukrainians who have died since the United States has shut off intelligence, shut off satellite imagery, and actively encouraged the escalation by Russia. Anyway, hit subscribe. Let's get to 5 million subscribers. Thanks for watching.